let's dive into it. Now we'll go according to the Hussain. Body, all structures are made of just four basic tissues. We all know what are tissues. Basic cells organized to form tissues, and then tissues organized to form organs organized to form organ system. Well, that's good, you all know that. Think of them as the core of building block. Let's just think of them like a block of Lego. We know the simple block of Lego look like, sorry for my bad drawing, just ignore that fact. This is the single block of Lego. This single block of Lego gets organized with other different types to form different buildings. Like we can form cars, we can form building castle from it. Like that, these tissues organized to form different systems of the body. We are today going to describe the four basic tissues. Out of them, one, that is epithelial tissue. We are going to describe that in detail today. So what is epithelial tissues? Before that, we need to cover all the four types of tissues. So coming back to our tissues, just ignore epithelial tissues, or epithelium, we also call it as epithelium. Then coming back to connective tissue, what is connective tissue, what is muscle tissues, because muscle tissue is also a basic tissue, and then nervous tissue. They all are four basic types of tissues. Why do we classify them as basic tissue? We'll go into brief detail just to know what, as if के टीचर ने अगर हमसे पूछ लिया वाइवा में क्या होता है कि connective tissue क्या होता है, muscle tissues क्या होते हैं, nervous tissues क्या होते हैं, for that sake. Okay, coming back to our epithelial tissues. Epithelial tissues are basically tissues that covers, lines and secretes different part of the bodies, actually all the cavities of the bodies. Then coming back to the connective tissue, what is connective tissue? Connective tissue actually supports and connects different type of the basic tissues. For suppose epithelial tissues, we are going to discuss in further lecture that epithelial tissues are actually avascular. What do you mean by avascular tissues? Epithelial tissues are avascular. What do you mean by avascular? Avascular are actually tissues having no blood supply. So for that reason, epithelial tissues have the connective tissue lying beneath them. Like in the basement membrane, the connective tissue lies, which is are rich in blood supplies, and due to this reason, they supports the epithelial tissues. How they support? They provide them with the nutrients, they provide them with the exchange of the gas, and many more reasons. We are going to discuss it later on in the connective tissue chapter. Then we'll come up with the muscle tissues. Muscle tissues are the tissues that causes locomotion, we all know, basic thing. And then nervous tissues. Nervous tissues, we all know, the electrical signals are converted into chemical signals and helps in the nerve impulse, transmission of nerve impulse. That's the basic overview. Now, coming back to our main topic, that is our epithelium, the most beloved one over here. What is epithelium? If I would be allowed to put simply what is epithelium, I would say that it's a sheet of cells that lines body surface cavity and forms glands. But according to Professor laiq Hussain, I would say he has made things complicated, but you all have to go with it, you have to bear it. Collection of closely opposed cells with very small amount of extracellular matrix. Just learn the definition for your viva. Then we'll come for the features. What are the features? They are avascular. We have discussed already that they do not have blood supplies. Then the question comes up, then why are they categorized as tissues? Why not they are categorized as dead cells? Because they get nutrients from the connective tissue. We have discussed this already. Supported by a variable amount of loose connective tissue which contains blood capillaries. Here we go. Between the epithelium and connective tissue layer of non-cellular material called the basement membrane or basal lamina is present. Say, okay, epithelial cells. Here you can go with this. Consider this as your epithelial cells. Consider this whole of this as the epithelial tissue. Group of cells make up the epithelial tissues. And now consider this as your basement membrane. Beneath this basement membrane, you all have that wait, let me change the color. We have that connective tissue here, here, here. And these connective tissue contains a rich blood supply. Let me change the color of blood supply, make it red. They are rich in blood supplies. The nutrients from here goes into the epithelial cells by, of course, diffusion. Let me remove all these things. Okay, so composed of adhesive glycoproteins and collagen type 4. Their basement membrane is composed of adhesive glycoproteins and collagen type 4. So epithelium is classified as glandular and covering epithelium. First we'll come up with the covering epithelium. It's the tissue that covers and lines everything, like the skin and the inside of your gut and even the airways. It's all about protection, absorption, filtration and sensation. Covers the external surface of the body and internals of the body cavity. That's what we have discussed. Also known as lining epithelium. That's the thing to be remembered. Lining epithelium. External surface like epidermis, internal surface like body cavity, gut, digestive system, and the airways. Covering epithelium is further classified on the basis of the layers present in it and on the basis of the shape of the cell. First, we'll discuss it on the basis of the layers present. They are categorized as simple, pseudostratified, and stratified. What do you mean by simple? It's not the word simple here does not mean that what I do makes concept clear for you. It's not that one simple. That means that it has only one layer of thickness. They contains only one layer thick epithelial cells. Like Wait, let me go. Here you go. This is the epithelial cell, this is the epithelial cell, this is the epithelial cell, and here is your basement membrane, here is your apical membrane. Okay, you're good to go now. Only one cell thing. Then pseudostratified. What are pseudostratified? It's really like, confusing terminology. Not actually confusing terminology. It's actually made stratified epithelium or simple epithelium. Why? Because of the thing that it is the special variety of epithelial tissues. It is distinct from the simple and stratified. So we have categorized them in a different, classification. We have called them pseudostratified. Why are they called as pseudostratified? Here, let me go with this one. Now, you can not say that these cells have one layer thickness. No, not actually. You cannot say them they have only double layer thickness. No way. Don't you dare. Why? Because they all are lying on the basement membrane. You see, this is the basement membrane. All the cells are lying on the basement membrane. If the cells are not lying on the basement membrane, wait. Here you go with one cell, one cell layer, and then here you come up with the second cell layer. You see, in the second cell layer, none of the cells touch the basement membrane, but here the cells are touching the basement membrane. I know some of them are not free from the apical surface, but at least they touch the basement membrane. That's the important thing to remember, because that's the question frequently asked in the Viva. Why are these pseudostratified epithelium not categorized as stratified epithelium, although they have one small cells that are basal cells and one large cells that are apical cells, but they do not have cell layers, two different cell layers. They have two different cell types. Remember that. Don't get confused. Okay, that's the thing which I have told you, that pseudostratified columnar epithelium. They are also known as columnar epithelium because the cells present over here, these cells are more like columnar cells. I know they're not completely like columnar, but they are more like columnar, and these are triangular cells, so we do not categorize them as any other type. We just say that it's the columnar cells because the only cells visible are columnar cells. Okay. Then we have two types of cells. I have told you, apical cells, which are these long ones, and the basal cells, which are this in the pink color, and the tall cells, which are in purple color, are columnar cells, apical cells, tall columnar cells. The short cells of the pseudostratified epithelium present between the tall cells, no free lumen. These are basal cells actually. Now we come up to the stratified epithelium. As we all have known that if the layer of cells which is not connecting to the basement membrane, then they are known as stratified. If the cells are connecting to the basement membrane and they are free to the apical surface also, then they can be simple epithelial cells and pseudostratified epithelium. They cannot be stratified if the cells are touching the basement membrane and are on the apical surface simultaneously. But if the cells independently are touching the basement membrane and the individual cells that are touching the apical surface, then they can be considered as stratified because they have many layers of cells. And only free surface of the most superficial cells faces the lumen of an organ. Okay, faces the lumen. That's the same thing, that there is a layer of cells, separate layer of cells other than the cells that are touching the basement membrane, separate layers of cells that is free at the lumen. That is known as apical layer. Not apical cells, it's known as apical layer. So then we'll see that they are also classified on the basis of their shape. On the basis of their shape, they are classified as squamous, cuboidal, and columnar. We'll get to know why. First, let me combine them both and make a chart for you all so that your lives get easier. You all can copy paste it, or you all can get the link of these notes from my YouTube video. Okay, so coming back to the topic, as you all have discussed, simple, pseudostratified, and stratified on the basis of the classification of epithelium on the basis of the layers present. Okay, now on the basis of the shape of the cells. If the simple epithelial cells, that is single layered thick cell layer, is having different types of shape, like squamous. Here you go with squamous. This one is the squamous one. Is shaped something like spindle or having tapered end and a bulged center, then it is known to be here you see tapered end and a bulged center, then the cells are known to be squamous in shape. Okay, so here the thing you needed to be remembered is only the fact that these examples are most important. Like in every viva, each and every student were asked about the examples of the epithelium or either glands. They were asked about alternated. Okay, so you need to remember it by heart. I know it's not a first go. It won't be easy to learn it on the first go. You have to do it again and again, so that you will get remembered it easily. Okay, now coming back to our topic, internal surface. So simple squamous epithelium, they're single layered, they're squamous shaped. Why are they single layered? Although they need to protect our body, as you have discussed the first one, they need to protect our body. Then why are they single layered? How can the single layer protect our body? In order to make the protection more vulnerable, we will have more layers. More layers means more protection, but here we have some single layer. Then of course it's not involved in protection. You all are that much genius. I know you all can guess. This basic epithelium is for the diffusion, for the absorption of things, for the absorption of substances, for the, you can say, diffusion of gases, for the absorption of nutrients. So we all can guess where they are present. First of all, alveoli because of the diffusion of the gases. Basic thing, this is to be remembered. Alveoli, first example, type 1 alveolar cells, not type 2, because we'll get to know in further lectures of RESPO module that the type 2 alveolar cells are actually cuboidal, not squamous. Remember, type 1 alveolar cells. Then mesothelium. What is mesothelium? Mesothelium is the lining of pericardial, pleural, and peritoneal cavities. And then coming back to the endothelium, that is the internal surface of the heart, blood vessels, and lymph vessels. We know that for the diffusion of gases and for the absorption of nutrients and for other reasons. Okay. Now coming back to the simple cuboidal cells. Simple cuboidal cells are found in the follicles of thyroid glands. Distal convoluted tubules. These are the only example you need to remember. Although I have told you that type 2 alveolar cells are also present in this type of category. Then coming to the simple columnar cells. Simple columnar cells lines the internal surface of stomach, intestine, gallbladder, and uterus. That's the whole thing you have to remember. You can see this, the cilia and the microvilli written on top will be explained to you later on. Okay, so coming back to the most favorite, most beloved, pseudostratified columnar epithelium. Pseudostratified columnar epithelium are actually classified like pseudostratified because they appears to have like 2 layers, but they are not actually, because all the cells are connecting on the basement membrane. I've told you so many times. That's the important point to be remembered. That's why I'm focusing on this point. Just remember it. Now the fact that over here I haven't shown you this, like see, in the apical surface, in the apical cells, this one, and in the basal cells, in the basal cells, this one, you all can see nuclear distribution is little bit different. Over here nuclei is present on top, like not on top, in the middle where the bulge is there, and in the basal cell it's lying on near to the basement membrane where the bulge is present. Why is that so? Because because nuclei need more space, so they're present on the places where the bulge is present. Okay, coming back to our leftovers. Okay, the nuclei and apical part of the tall cells and the basal part of the short cells, I've already told you. Conducting part of respiratory, so these are the examples. They are found only in the conducting part of the respiratory system, not in the gaseous exchange part, because over there we have discussed simple squamous epithelium is present, that is type 1 alveolar cells, which is not considered as conducting part of respiratory system. It is considered as the gaseous exchange part of the respiratory system. So conducting part includes nose. You will go through accordingly, like externally you have nose, then internally nasopharynx, and then after nasopharynx you got trachea, then bronchi, and then bronchi divides into bronchioles furthermore, but they are not included in the conducting part. Okay, remember the fact. Only conducting part contains pseudostratified columnar epithelium. Pseudostratified epithelium is mostly considered as, no, not mostly, actually they are pseudostratified columnar cells only, because you got to know the fact there are columnar cells present, tall columnar cells, which we also call as apical cells. So the another example is major male genital ducts, duct of epididymis, and ductus deferens. The fact that kinesiology and stereocilia written over here, I'll let you know what are these. And in the most importantly, remember this, you have to do this in the blood module. It's the most important fact that only in pharyngeal, out of all the 3 tonsils, only in pharyngeal tonsils you will find the pseudostratified columnar cells. Okay, yes. Then coming to the stratified epithelium, we have described as stratified epithelium. Stratified epithelium is also categorized into squamous, cuboidal, and columnar, on the basis of the cell's shape present. Okay. Stratified squamous epithelium. Stratified squamous epithelium are actually classified as keratinized and non-keratinized. First, we'll see what is stratified squamous epithelium. We have been known that what is the simple squamous. Now, this is the stratified squamous. Like, the tapered ends, and the bulge at center, the tapered ends and the bulge at center, the tapered ends and the bulge at center. This is the squamous shape. You have all got to know that. And the many layers are present. You are seeing that this is consider this as the basement membrane. I'm sorry, the basement membrane is not located over here. Only the lowermost layer, which is this one layer, is connected to the basement membrane. Not any other cell is connected to the basement membrane. I know all the other cells are superimposed on this membrane, on this, you can say, on this layer which is connected to the basement membrane, but they are not directly attached. So we'll name it stratified squamous epithelium. Okay. Now coming back to the fact we were discussing keratinized and non-keratinized. What are keratinized cells and what are non-keratinized cells? What is keratinized? Actually, what do you mean by keratinization? Actually, it's the cells that becomes dead cells. They get deposited on the apical surface, and they give the appearance of the very dark shaded appearance, but they are dead cells. They are of any nuclei, no desmosomes, but they are of use. What is the use of them? Actually, the dead cells are hydrophilic cells. They do not allow water contact of water. So what do? They protect the body from getting desiccated. Over here it's written, covers areas of the body which are subjected to aberration and desiccation. What's the most likely organ that is that can get desiccated is most likely is skin. So they are present in epidermis. Okay. Now coming to the non-keratinized, you all know the keratinized was the one having the dead cells. So the non-keratinized one is the having no dead cells on their topmost surface. So they have slippery surface of the body. as you all know, what was the function of the keratinized one? It avoids desiccation and abrasion. So the superficial layer in this, because they are the living cells, they have the superficial layer is the living cells, so they have nucleus. Although the keratinized one was not the living cells, they were dead cells, so they are non-nucleated. Over here it's written, my bad, I haven't noticed it, has nucleated cells. Over here it's written nucleated cells. Okay, so they are mostly found in the places which are not most likely to get desiccated. So they are present on the lining of the oral cavity, which is wet, then oropharynx, oesophagus, vagina, cornea, laryngopharynx, and palatine tonsils. You need to remember these all. I'm sorry I can't help you out. So now we'll see what is written over here. Superficial layer constantly flakes off by losing desmosomes. Okay, wait a moment, let me show what is written over here. So considering this as a basement membrane, in the stratified epithelium, what's the most interesting thing? We got all the types of layers, like we say. Now let me know what type of cells are these. I'm sure you have guessed it, you all are genius. These are columnar cells. Now yes, you will be saying that, plus we were studying that simple stratified squamous cells, and why are you drawing columnar cells? Wait, let me help you out. Wait, let me draw this first. I'm drawing a layer of cuboidal cells. Cuboidal. Ignore the fact of nucleus. Because without nucleus, we all know they are considered to be dead cells. So we need to draw the nucleus. Pop the builder. Okay, so what's the next thing? The only thing is left is that we were discussing the stratified squamous cells. How did we ended up with the columnar and cuboidal cells? Wait, now we'll draw these tapered ends and a bulge at center, tapered end and a bulge at center. I know it's look like oval, but just you have to go with it. It's not my fault, it's my drawing actually. And now I'll not be drawing the nucleus over here. Considered as a dead cells having no nucleus, and that's why they are all compressed. So they form a layer of keratin, which is a protein formed by the dead cells. Now let me draw the nucleus over here, because they all are living cells, they are not dead cells. So yeah, first of all, it's written in the laiq that the stratified squamous cells must have the columnar cells or cuboidal cells as their basal cells. Why? Because they are mitotically active and they helps in the mitotic division. As soon as they get the columnar cells mitotically divides, they get little space and they get shrinked into the cuboidal cells. You can see that columnar cells are the longer ones and the cuboidal cells are a little shorter. I know, that's my bad drawing. You have to cope up with that only. And then they furthermore gets compressed into squamous cells. They are using less space, and then these squamous cells get divides into, loses their nuclei and forms the dead cells, the protein known as keratin, to avoid these layers from desiccation.